Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship and watched the aliens come aboard. They were tall and blue, with 4 arms each. Their leader was named Veltar, and he walked like he owned the whole galaxy. Jake had to bite his tongue to keep from laughing. The aliens thought they were so smart. They thought humans were just dumb newcomers who barely knew how to fly between stars. If only they knew the truth. Humans had been flying faster than light for 300 years. They had weapons that could destroy entire fleets. They had technology that could move mountains and heal any wound. But the aliens didn't know any of this. 300 years ago, when humans first left Earth, they met other species in space. There was something called the Galactic Council. It was made up of different alien races who had been flying around space for thousands of years. They thought they were the smartest beings in the galaxy. The council had a nasty habit. When they met new species who were too smart or too strong, they would destroy them. They were scared of competition. So when humans first met them, the human leaders made a choice. They would pretend to be weak and stupid. They would act like they had just figured out space travel. They would beg for help and act grateful for any scraps the aliens threw their way. Captain Lisa Rodriguez had come up with the plan. She was the head of all human diplomats. She was smart, and she knew how to play the long game. Every human ship had 2 sets of equipment. The fake equipment was what they showed to aliens. It was slow and clunky and barely worked. The real equipment was hidden behind special shields that aliens couldn't detect. Jake remembered his training. Act confused. Ask for help. Pretend their technology is amazing. Thank them for being so generous. Never let them see what humans could really do. Your ship is very impressive, Veltar said in his weird alien voice. For a young species, you have done well to reach this level of technology. Jake nodded and tried to look humble. Thank you, Ambassador. We are still learning so much from the Council. Your people have been very kind to share your knowledge with us. Veltar's chest puffed out with pride. The Zephyrian Republic has always believed in helping lesser species reach their potential. Today, I will show you our new faster-than-light drive. It is our latest breakthrough. With this technology, you can travel between stars in just days, instead of weeks. Jake wanted to laugh. The drive Veltar was so proud of was something humans had built better versions of 200 years ago. Human ships could travel the same distance in hours, not days. But Jake just nodded and looked amazed. That sounds incredible, Jake said. Our engines are so slow compared to yours. We would be honored to learn from your superior technology. The other humans on the bridge played their parts too. Lieutenant Amy Foster looked at the alien equipment with wide eyes. She asked simple questions that made her sound like a child. Commander Bill Chun took notes on everything, acting like he was learning amazing secrets. The truth was that Amy could build better engines in her sleep. Bill had helped design weapons that could crack planets in half. But they all acted like students meeting their teachers for the first time. Veltar spent the next hour showing off. He explained how their advanced computers worked. He demonstrated their powerful energy weapons. He bragged about their sophisticated life support systems. Every piece of technology he showed was something humans had improved on decades ago. Jake watched and nodded and asked questions. He made sure to sound impressed by everything. Inside, he was thinking about the real human technology hidden just a few decks below. They had computers that could think like living beings. They had weapons that could destroy entire star systems. They had life support that could keep humans alive in the vacuum of space without any equipment at all. Your people learn quickly, Veltar said at the end of his presentation. Perhaps in a few hundred years, humans will be able to build technology almost as good as ours. We can only hope to reach such heights, Jake replied. The Zephyrian Republic is truly blessed with wisdom and skill. After the aliens left, Jake's crew dropped their act. Amy rolled her eyes. Bill shook his head. The communications officer, Dan Murphy, made a joke about how long it had taken the aliens to explain their advanced technology. 300 years, Amy said. 300 years we've been doing this dance. And it's working, Jake reminded them. The Council still thinks we're harmless. They don't see us as a threat. That means they leave us alone to build our colonies and develop our real technology. Jake thought about Earth and all the human worlds scattered across the galaxy. Millions of humans lived on hundreds of planets. They had cities under the oceans and stations orbiting black holes. They had factories that could build anything and schools that could teach the deepest secrets of the universe. All of it was protected by the big lie. The aliens thought humans were weak and grateful and harmless. They had no idea that humanity was the most powerful force in the galaxy, but Jake sometimes wondered how long they could keep it up. Young humans were getting tired of the act. They wanted to show off their real abilities. They wanted to be proud of what humanity had achieved. There were also signs that some aliens were getting suspicious. They asked more questions than they used to. They watched human ships more carefully. A few had even tried to scan human vessels. With deep sensors, Jake looked out at the stars and thought about the future. The masquerade had protected humanity for 3 centuries. It had given them time to grow strong and spread across the galaxy. But nothing lasted forever. Someday, the truth would come out. When that day came, Jake hoped the galaxy would be ready for it. Dr. Amanda Foster worked deep underground on the moon. Her laboratory was buried so far down that no alien scanner could find it. Around her, machines hummed quietly as they built things that would make the Council's best technology look like toys. Amanda was working on a new type of engine. It didn't just go faster than light. It could skip through different layers of space itself. A ship with this engine could travel from one side of the galaxy to the other in minutes. The aliens' fastest ships would take months to make the same trip, but Amanda would never be able to show her work to anyone outside of humanity. The great lie had to continue. Humans had to keep pretending they were slow and weak and grateful for alien help. Amanda's computer beeped. She had a message from her nephew Ryan. He was the captain of a mining ship called the Endurance. Ryan was young and angry about the masquerade. He thought humans should stop hiding and show the galaxy what they could really do. "Aunt Amanda?" His message said, "I almost lost my ship today. Pirates attacked us near the Kepler system. I wanted to use our real weapons, but the rules said I had to use the fake ones. 3 of my crew got hurt because I couldn't defend them properly. How long do we have to keep living this lie?" Amanda sighed. She understood Ryan's anger. It was hard to watch friends get hurt when you had the power to protect them. But the masquerade had kept humanity safe for 300 years. Breaking. It now could mean war with the entire galaxy. She typed back a careful reply. "Ryan, I know it's hard, but remember what happened to the Corvani. They were strong and proud, and they showed off their power. The Council destroyed their entire species in a single day. We stay hidden so we can stay alive." Amanda sent the message and went back to work. But she couldn't shake the feeling that things were changing. More and more young humans were asking the same questions as Ryan. They had been born into a galaxy where humans were supposedly weak. They had never known the fear that drove the masquerade. Meanwhile, in the Council territories, an alien intelligence. Officer named Quina was asking different questions. She belonged to a species called the Volturans. They had purple skin and were known for being very smart and very suspicious. Quina had been studying human development for 10 years. Something didn't add up. Humans claimed they had just figured out space travel 300 years ago. But their progress in some areas was too fast. They had gone from barely leaving their home planet to building complex mining operations in just a few decades. She looked at her data again. Human medical technology was advancing at an impossible rate. Their ships were getting faster every year. Their computers were becoming more sophisticated. It was like they were copying someone else's work, but doing it better than the original creators. Quinn filed a report with her superiors. The human development pattern is anomalous, she wrote. They show signs of advanced capability while maintaining a facade of primitive technology. I recommend increased surveillance. Her boss, Commander Zekthar, read the report with interest. The Volturans had survived for thousands of years by being paranoid about potential threats. If Quinha thought humans were suspicious, it was worth investigating. Back on Earth, President Elena Rodriguez called an emergency meeting. The Terran High Command gathered in a secret room beneath the Capitol. These were the people who had been running the masquerade for 3 centuries. "We have a problem," President Rodriguez said. "Our intelligence sources say the Volturans are watching us more closely. At the same time, our own people are getting tired of hiding. We're getting pressure from both sides." General Alex Murphy, the head of Earth's military, spoke up. "Maybe it's time to stop hiding. We're strong enough now to defend ourselves. We have colonies on hundreds of worlds. We have weapons the Council can't even imagine. Why should we keep pretending to be weak?" Admiral Katie Thompson disagreed. "The Council has thousands of species and millions of ships. Yes, we're more advanced, but we're also outnumbered. If they all united against us, it would be a hard fight." Dr. Foster, Amanda's boss, had another concern. "If we reveal ourselves, we lose the element of surprise. Right now, no one knows what we can really do. That's a huge advantage. Once we show our hand, we can never take it back." Captain Lisa Rodriguez, the original architect of the masquerade, was now an old woman. She had spent her entire life maintaining the lie. "I created this deception to protect humanity," she said, "but I always knew it couldn't last forever. The question is whether we reveal ourselves by choice or by accident." The debate went on for hours. Some wanted to maintain the secret at all costs. Others thought it was time to be honest with the galaxy. A few suggested revealing their technology gradually, so it wouldn't be such a shock. While the leaders argued, ordinary humans were dealing with the consequences of the masquerade. Captain Ryan Brooks and his crew were repairing their ship after the pirate attack. They had won the fight, but barely. If they could have used their real weapons, it would have been over in seconds. "This is stupid," said his engineer, Carl Watson. "We're pretending to be weak while people are shooting at us. When do we get to stop playing this game?" Ryan didn't have an answer. He had grown up believing the masquerade was necessary. But seeing his friends hurt made him question everything. Maybe it was time for humanity to step out of the shadows. On the other side of the galaxy, Ambassador Veltar was having his own doubts. He had been working with humans for 5 years. They were supposed to be a young, primitive species, but they asked very good questions. They learned faster than they should. Sometimes he caught them looking at Zephyrian technology with expressions that seemed almost pitying. Veltar pushed the thought away. Humans were grateful students, nothing more. They looked up to the Zephyrian Republic and wanted to learn from their betters. That was the natural order of things. But late at night, when he was alone in his quarters, Veltar wondered if the humans were hiding something. They seemed too eager to please, too quick to praise alien technology. It felt like an act sometimes that Amanda finished her work and sealed the new engine plans in a secure vault. Somewhere above her, the moon's surface was bathed in starlight. Out there, the galaxy continued its ancient dance of politics and power. Thousands of species lived and worked and fought, never knowing that the most powerful force among them was pretending to be the weakest dot. The masquerade had protected humanity for 3 centuries, but cracks were starting to show. The question was whether those cracks would grow slowly or all at once. Amanda hoped it would be slow. Humanity needed time to prepare for the day when the truth finally came out, because when it did, everything would change. The alarm bells were screaming on Kepler Station. Commander Steve Parker ran through the corridors as the entire structure shook from weapon impacts. Outside, through the thick windows, he could see the massive fleet of the Drakon Empire surrounding the station. The Drakon were not part of the Galactic Council. They were a warrior race from the Outer Rim who took what they wanted by force. They had never cared about diplomacy or treaties. Today, they wanted the research data stored on Kepler Station, and they were willing to kill everyone to get it. Steve reached the command center where his officers were working frantically at their stations. Lieutenant Nancy Scott looked up from her console with fear in her eyes. "Sir, we've got 300 Drakon warships out there. They're demanding we surrender the station and all research data. The Council Defense Fleet is still 6 hours away." Steve looked at the tactical display. The Drakon ships were big and heavily armed. According to the public records, they should be able to destroy the station easily. The official human response should be to evacuate everyone and run away. Steve knew something the Drakon didn't. Kepler Station wasn't just a research facility. It was also a secret testing ground for human military technology. Hidden beneath the civilian equipment were weapons and defenses that could destroy the entire Drakon fleet in minutes. "Sir," called out Sergeant Mark Johnson from the weapons station, "they're starting their attack run. We need to respond with our defensive systems." Steve hesitated. The rules were clear. Humans were supposed to use only their public technology. They had to maintain the masquerade, even if it meant losing the station. But there were 12,000 people on Kepler Station. Half of them were human, but the other half were aliens, from Council species. They were all going to die if he followed the rules. The station shook again as Drakon plasma cannons hit the outer hall. Steve watched the damage reports scroll across his screen. The fake shields were failing. The pretend weapons were doing no damage to the attacking ships. "Commander Parker," came a voice from the communication system. It was Captain Lisa Rodriguez, now an old woman, but still the head of the diplomatic corps. "I'm ordering you to evacuate the station immediately. Do not engage the enemy with anything other than standard human equipment." Steve looked around at his crew. They were all young humans who had grown up with the masquerade. They knew about the hidden weapons, but they also knew the rules. They were waiting for his decision. Not another impact shook the station. This time, Steve heard the sound of metal tearing. The Drakon were breaking through the outer sections. Soon they would be boarding the station directly. "Sir," Lieutenant Scott said quietly, "the civilian evacuation is only half complete. We need more time." Steve made his choice. He walked to the master control panel and placed his hand on the bioscanner. A hidden section of the wall slid away, revealing controls that no alien had ever seen. "All stations, this is Commander Parker. I'm authorizing the use of classified defensive systems. Repeat, we are going to full capability." The effect was immediate. Energy barriers that could stop capital ship weapons flickered to life around the station. Point defense systems with impossible accuracy began picking off Drakon fighters. The station's main guns, which had been pretending to be simple mining lasers, revealed their true power. Steve watched as a single shot from the station's main weapon cut a Drakon cruiser in half. The energy beam was so powerful it went through the first ship and destroyed 2 more behind it. The Drakon fleet, which had been confident of easy victory, suddenly found themselves fighting an enemy that belonged in their nightmares. "What is this?" came a panicked transmission from the Drakon fleet commander. These weapons, ... they're impossible. No one has technology like this. But the secret was bigger than just the station. Admiral Katie Thompson had been leading a human rescue fleet toward Kepler Station. Her ships were supposed to be slow cargo vessels with minimal weapons. When the Drakon appeared, she was supposed to run away and call for council help. Instead, Katie gave her own orders. All ships, drop the masquerade, full combat capability. Let's show these pirates what humans can really do. The transformation was incredible. Ships that had looked like floating boxes suddenly revealed sleek weapons and advanced engines. They moved through space like dancers, too fast for the Drakon targeting systems to track. Their weapons cut through enemy shields like they were made of paper. Captain Ryan Rooks was part of Katie's fleet. His mining ship, Endurance, had been pretending to be a simple cargo hauler. Now it showed its true nature as a heavy assault vessel. Ryan felt a wild joy as he finally got to use his ship's real capabilities. "This is what we should have been doing all along," he said to his crew. "No more hiding. No more pretending to be weak." The battle was over in 20 minutes. The Drakon fleet was destroyed or scattered. Not a single human ship was lost. The station was safe, and the 12,000 people aboard were alive. The cost was enormous. Ambassador Veltar had been on the station during the attack. He had seen everything. He had watched humans use technology that was beyond anything the Council had ever imagined. The weapons that had saved his life had also destroyed everything he believed about the galaxy. "You lied to us," he said to Steve after the battle. "For 300 years you lied. You made us think you were primitive and grateful. You made us think we were helping you. But you were always more advanced than us." Steve didn't know what to say. The masquerade was over. There was no going back now. We did what we had to do to survive. The Council has destroyed other advanced species. We didn't want to be next. Veltar's 4 arms shook with anger. "So you made fools of us. You let us patronize you and pity you. You took our help and pretended to be grateful. Do you know how humiliating this is?" Across the galaxy, the news was spreading. The secret human transmissions to their colonies and fleets carried a simple message: the masquerade is over. Prepare for full disclosure. On Earth, President Rodriguez called another emergency meeting. This time, there was no debate. The choice had been made for them. "Commander Parker has revealed our true capabilities," she announced. "Every species in the galaxy will know within days. We need to prepare for the consequences." General Murphy was already mobilizing the real human military. "The Council will see this as a betrayal. Some species will want to destroy us before we become too powerful. We need to be ready for war." Dr. Foster was worried about the scientific implications. 300 years of research will be exposed. Our enemies will try to copy our technology. Our allies will demand we share it. But it was Captain Rodriguez, the architect of the masquerade, who summed up the situation best. "We always knew this day would come. The question was whether we would reveal ourselves by choice or by accident. Commander Parker made that choice. For us, Steve Parker stood in the ruins of the command center on Kepler Station. The walls were scarred by weapons fire, but the station was intact. 12,000 people were alive because he had broken the rules. He thought about the young humans who had been chafing under the masquerade. They had wanted to be proud of what humanity had achieved. Now they would get their chance. He thought about the aliens who had considered themselves humanity's superiors. They would have to adjust to a new reality where the species they had pitied was actually the most powerful force in the galaxy. Most of all, he thought about the future. The masquerade had protected humanity for 3 centuries. But protection always came with a price. Now it was time to pay that price and see what came next. the galaxy would never be the same. The great hall of the Galactic Council had never seen anything like it. Representatives from 1,000 species sat in their floating chairs, all staring at the human woman standing at the center of the chamber. Dr. Amanda Foster held a small device in her hands that could change the fate of the galaxy. Honorable members of the Council, Amanda began, her voice carrying clearly through the vast space. I am here to tell you the truth about humanity. We have not been honest with you. For 300 years. The hall erupted in angry voices. Some aliens shouted accusations. Others demanded explanations. A few species had already walked out in protest. The council speaker, an ancient being called Mordan, raised his 6 arms for silence. Dr. Foster, Mordan said in his deep voice, you stand accused of deception on a galactic scale. The evidence from Kepler Station suggests that humanity has been hiding advanced technology for centuries. Explain yourself. Amanda activated her device. Holographic displays filled the air. Around her, showing the real scope of human achievement. Starships that could cross the galaxy in hours. Weapons that could destroy entire solar systems. Medical technology that could bring the dead back to life. This is what we really are, Amanda said calmly. We developed faster than light travel. Before we ever met the Council, we had energy weapons when you thought we were still using chemical rockets. We have been the most advanced species in the galaxy for 300 years. The silence that followed was deafening. Representatives who had spent decades patronizing humans now realized they had been talking down to their superiors. Species that had offered their help to humanity now understood they had been sharing inferior. Technology. Ambassador Veltar stood up from his chair. His blue skin had turned a darker shade, which Amanda knew meant he was deeply angry. You made us look like fools, he said. We thought we were the teachers, and you were the students. We thought we were helping a primitive species reach for the stars. You were never fools, Amanda replied. You were exactly what we expected. The Council has a long history of destroying species that become too powerful. We hid our abilities to avoid that fate. High Counselor Zaraketh of the Andorian Federation spoke next. Her species was known for being peaceful and curious. If this is true, then why reveal yourselves now? Why not continue the deception? Amanda's expression grew sad. Because our people are tired of hiding. Our young ones don't understand why we must pretend to be weak. And because maintaining the lie was putting innocent lives at risk. She gestured to the displays around her. At Kepler Station, we had a choice. We could let 12,000 people die to protect our secret, or we could save them and reveal the truth. Commander Parker chose to save lives. I support that choice. The debate that followed lasted for 18 hours. Some species, like the Andorians, were fascinated by human technology and wanted to learn from it. They saw the revelation as an opportunity for the galaxy to advance together. Others, like the Zephyrians, felt humiliated and betrayed. They had built their entire identity around being one of the most advanced species in the galaxy. Learning that humans had been surpassing them for centuries was a blow to their pride. The most dangerous reaction came from the Kethani Empire. Their representative war leader Gezer stood up and pointed an accusing finger at Amanda. This is exactly why the Council exists, he growled. To prevent any one species from becoming too powerful. Humanity has proven they cannot be trusted. They have deceived us for 3 centuries. Who knows what other lies they have told? Who knows what weapons they have pointed at our worlds? Gazer's words struck fear into many hearts. The Kethani were known for their military might and their willingness to use it. If they decided humanity was a threat, other species might follow their lead. Amanda tried to calm the situation. We have never used our technology to harm Council species. We have no weapons pointed at your worlds. We have been protecting ourselves, not planning conquest. Lies upon lies, Gaza replied. How can we trust anything you say? You have been deceiving us since the day we met you. For all we know, you are already planning to enslave us all. The argument continued for hours. Some species sided with the Kephani, seeing humanity as a threat that needed to be eliminated. Others supported the Andorians, viewing the revelation as a chance for cooperation. The council was splitting apart along lines that had been drawn 300 years ago. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, human colonies were preparing for war. General Alex Murphy had activated the real human military for the first time in centuries. Ships that had been disguised as cargo haulers revealed themselves as battle cruisers. Space stations that had pretended to be research facilities activated their planetary defense systems. The transformation was incredible. Humanity went from appearing to be a minor species with a few dozen worlds to revealing themselves as a galactic superpower with colonies in every sector. Their true fleet was larger than most species had imagined possible. Admiral Katie Thompson commanded the defense preparations from her flagship, the Destiny. It was a vessel that no alien had ever seen before, built with technology it made. Council dreadnoughts looked like toys. Status report, she ordered her bridge crew. All human colonies are at full alert, reported her communications officer, Lieutenant Dave Wilson. Our defensive systems are active, and our fleets are in position. If the Council decides to attack, we're ready. Katie nodded, but she wasn't happy about the situation. 300 years of peace, and now we might have to fight the entire galaxy. I hope it was worth it. On Earth, President Rodriguez addressed the human population. Every person on every human world watched as their leader explained the situation. My fellow humans, she began, today we have revealed our true nature to the galaxy. For 300 years, we have hidden our achievements to protect ourselves. Now that protection is gone, but we are not defenseless. She gestured to images of the human fleet. We have the most advanced technology in the galaxy. We have colonies on hundreds of worlds. We have weapons that can defend us from any threat. But more importantly, we have something our ancestors never had, the truth. The speech was broadcast on alien networks too. Billions of beings across the galaxy heard the human president's words. Some were inspired by her message of hope. Others were terrified by the implications. Back in the council chamber, the debate was reaching a climax. The representatives had divided into three main groups. The first wanted to destroy humanity before they became too powerful. The second wanted to work with humans and learn from their technology. The third wanted to find a middle path that avoided both war and submission. Warden, the council speaker, raised his arms for silence. The time for debate is over. We must vote on how to respond to this revelation. The choices before us are simple: war, cooperation, or isolation. The voting took place in secret, as was council tradition. Each species cast their ballot without knowing how others had voted. The results would determine the fate of the galaxy. Amanda waited in her assigned quarters while the votes were counted. She thought about her nephew Ryan, who was now commanding a battle fleet near the human colonies. She thought about Commander Parker, who had started this whole crisis by choosing to save lives over maintaining secrets. Most of all, she thought about the future. The masquerade had protected humanity for 3 centuries, but it had also isolated them from the rest of the galaxy. Now they would have to find a new way to coexist with their neighbors. The question was whether that coexistence would be based on mutual respect or mutual fear. The answer would come with the council's vote, and Amanda knew that whatever decision they made would echo through the stars for generations to come. Outside her window, the lights of the council station twinkled like stars. Somewhere out there, humanity's real fleet was waiting in the darkness, ready to defend their species if diplomacy failed that the age of deception was over. The age of truth was about to begin. The war lasted exactly 73 days. Admiral Katie Thompson would remember that number for the rest of her life. 73 days of fighting that changed the galaxy forever. It started when war leader Gasser of the Kethany Empire refused to accept the Council's vote for cooperation. He formed an alliance with 12 other species who saw humanity as a threat that needed to be eliminated. They called themselves the Purification Coalition, and their goal was simple: destroy every human colony and ship in the galaxy. The first battle happened at the Titan colony, where Captain Ryan Brooks was stationed with his mining fleet. The coalition arrived with 300 warships, expecting to find a small human settlement defended by primitive weapons. Instead, they found a fully armed human battle group waiting for them. Ryan's ship, the Endurance, was no longer pretending to be a simple cargo hauler. It revealed its true nature as a heavy assault vessel equipped with weapons that could tear through enemy shields like paper. The Coalition fleet was destroyed in less than an hour, but the Coalition had made one crucial mistake. They had attacked human civilians. The miners on Titan Colony were not soldiers. They were families with children, scientists, and engineers who had never hurt anyone. 1,800 innocent people died in the first Coalition attack. The news of the massacre spread across human space like wildfire. Every human colony, every human ship, every human citizen learned that their peaceful neighbors had tried to commit genocide. The age of hiding was truly over. General Alex Murphy took command of the human military response. For 3 centuries, humanity had been preparing for this moment. Hidden bases activated across the galaxy. Ships that had been disguised as civilian vessels revealed their true purpose. Weapons that had been built in secret for generations were finally put to use. Coalition forces had expected to fight the weak and grateful humans they thought they knew. Instead, they found themselves facing technology that seemed like magic. Human ships appeared and disappeared without warning. Human weapons struck targets from impossible distances. Human defenses held against attacks that should have destroyed entire fleets. The Battle of Proxima Station was the turning point. Coalition had gathered their largest fleet, over 2,000 ships, to attack the human research facility. They surrounded the station and demanded its surrender. Commander Jake Morrison, now promoted to admiral, was in charge of the station's defense. He had spent his entire career pretending to be weak. Now he could finally show what humanity was really capable of. "This is Admiral Morrison to all Coalition forces," he broadcast. "You have attacked innocent civilians. You have tried to commit genocide against the human species. We will not allow this to continue." The station's defenses activated, and the Coalition fleet discovered that they were not attacking a research facility. They were attacking a fortress that had been built with 300 years of hidden technology. Energy barriers that could stop any weapon surrounded the station. Point defense systems with perfect accuracy began picking off Coalition ships one by one. But the real surprise came from space itself. The human reinforcement fleet didn't arrive through normal faster-than-light travel. They simply appeared, materializing out of nothing, as if they had been created by the universe itself. Admiral Thompson commanded the relief force from her flagship, the Destiny. The ship was a work of art, built with technology that made it more powerful than entire Coalition fleets. It moved through space like a living thing, too fast and too agile for enemy weapons to track. The battle was over in 6 hours. The Coalition's greatest fleet was destroyed, and their leaders were captured or killed. The war continued for another month, but the outcome was no longer in doubt. The end came when the human fleet reached the Kethany homeworld. The planet was defended by everything the Empire could gather: orbital stations, planetary shields, and 1 million soldiers ready to fight to the death. Admiral Thompson broadcast a message to the planet below. People of Kefani, we did not ask for this war. We only revealed ourselves to save innocent lives. Your leaders chose to respond with genocide. We choose to respond with mercy. The technology she demonstrated was beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of destroying the planet, the human fleet simply turned off every weapon and defense system on the entire world. Soldiers found their guns wouldn't work. Ships discovered their engines had stopped. Even the planetary shields flickered and died. We could destroy you all, Thompson continued, but we choose not to. We offer you the same choice we offered the Council. Cooperation, not conquest. The war ends now, if you want it to. The surrender came within hours. The remaining coalition forces laid down their weapons and accepted human terms. The war was over, but the galaxy had learned a lesson it would never forget. The peace negotiations took place on Earth, in the same city where the masquerade had been planned 3 centuries earlier. Representatives from every species in the galaxy came to learn about the new reality. Dr. Amanda Foster found herself in an unexpected position. The woman who had once testified before the Council as a defendant was now leading the negotiations. As humanity's chief representative, the galaxy was asking for her help, not her surrender. We have a choice to make, Amanda told the assembled delegates. We can continue the old ways of competition and conflict, or we can build something new. Together. Humanity offers to share our technology, but only with species that commit to peace. The offer was incredible. Human medical technology could extend lifespans by centuries. Their energy systems could power entire civilizations without pollution. Their transportation technology could connect the most distant worlds. It was everything the galaxy had dreamed of for millennia, but it came with conditions. Any species that wanted access to human technology had to agree to strict peace treaties. They had to open their borders to human inspectors. Most importantly, they had to prove they would use the technology for good, not for war. Ambassador Veltar, representing the Zephyrian Republic, was among the first to accept the terms. His anger over the deception had faded, replaced by wonder at what cooperation might achieve. My people have spent thousands of years believing we were the pinnacle of evolution, he said. Now we know there is so much more to learn. We want to be part of this new age. The Andorians were enthusiastic partners from the beginning. High Counselor Zarakith worked closely with human scientists to establish the first joint research projects. Within months, they were making discoveries that neither species could have achieved alone. Even some former coalition members asked to join the new alliance. The Kefani Empire, humbled by their defeat, sent envoys to Earth begging for forgiveness and a chance to start over. Captain Ryan Brooks, now an admiral himself, led the first joint human-alien fleet on a mission to explore beyond the galaxy's edge. His crew included beings from a dozen different species, all working together with technology that had once been humanity's greatest secret. It's strange, Ryan told his alien first officer, a young Andorian named Valinara. A year ago, we were pretending to be weak so you wouldn't fear us. Now we're working together to explore the unknown. Valinara nodded thoughtfully. Perhaps fear was always the real enemy. Fear of being conquered, fear of being left behind, fear of the unknown. Your species chose to overcome fear with patience and wisdom. The transformation of the galaxy took decades, but the results were beyond anything anyone had imagined. Worlds that had been barren were transformed into gardens. Diseases that had plagued species for millions of years were cured in months. Wars that had raged for centuries ended as old enemies found common ground. Commander Steve Parker, the man who had broken the masquerade at Kepler Station, became the director of the new Galactic Emergency Response Corps. When disasters struck anywhere in the galaxy, Human technology and alien expertise worked together to save lives. "I used to think I made the wrong choice," Steve told Amanda during a visit to Earth. "I broke 300 years of careful planning in a single moment. But seeing what we've built together, I think it was the right time for the truth." Amanda smiled as she looked out at the stars from her office window. Below, the first class of the Galactic Academy was graduating. Young beings from hundreds of species had learned together, sharing knowledge that would shape the future of the galaxy. "The masquerade served its purpose," she replied. "It kept us safe while we grew strong. But hiding was never meant to be forever. We always knew that someday we would have to choose between fear and hope." President Rodriguez, now in her final term, addressed the new Galactic Assembly for the last time. The organization had replaced the old council with representatives, chosen not by species strength, but by their commitment to peace and cooperation. 50 years ago," she said, "humanity lived in the shadows, afraid to show our true nature. Today, we stand in the light with our neighbors, building a future none of us could achieve alone. The age of deception is over. The age of cooperation has begun." The speech was broadcast across the galaxy, reaching worlds that had once been, enemies and species that had once lived in isolation. Children who had been born after the revelation grew up in a universe where cooperation was normal and war was ancient history. Admiral Thompson, now an old woman, stood